My name is Matthew Kalinsky, and I am the host of the show Entrepreneur You Should Know. And today my guest is Cheryl Biron, and she has an amazing career. Not only did she grow up in the corporate culture, but she's transitioned to running her own coaching career. And she runs a business called Lexagen Business Growth Coaching. Let me tell you a little bit about her before we get started, because I'm really excited about the show today. We're going to learn a lot about her. How's everybody doing today? All right. So Cheryl has scaled a company called One Horn Transportation to the point where she is no longer needed on a day-to-day basis. Isn't that the dream for all entrepreneurs? She now pursues her passion of helping other entrepreneurs grow and scale their business so that they can live the life of their dreams. And Cheryl's also the cool she's the author of the Hot Tub Manifestor, the Entrepreneur's Guide to Having It All. And without further ado, I'm going to bring Cheryl onto the show as we speak. Hello, Cheryl. How are you today?
Doing great, Matt. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. You've been in Entrepreneurs Organization for 9 years, I believe, but yeah. I didn't know all of the time you spent before you joined really created the person who you are today. So I'm excited to learn a little bit about that.
Well, thank you, Matt. So before I joined EO, I took more of a traditional route. I grew up thinking that climbing the corporate ladder was the way to go. And so I was one of those type A achievers who went to Cornell undergrad. I worked in investment banking at Merrill Lynch for 2 years, and then we were expected to go get our MBAs. And I went to Wharton and earned my MBA, but I decided that investment banking wasn't for me. And so instead, I studied marketing and multinational management. And then I landed a job at Procter & Gamble in Paris. And so I spent 2 years in Paris working for P&G, and then at a certain point decided that I wanted to come back to the United States. And I worked for several different consumer packaged goods and pharma and healthcare and beauty aid companies. And then in 2004, I had what I call my entrepreneurial fit.
Okay. As we all have, I'm sure.
Yes. I think Michael Gerber actually coined that phrase. And so basically I looked up, I said, if I keep getting, promoted to VP of marketing, I will have less time at home with my young children and more time traveling and commuting. And I just wasn't happy. And so I read a book called The Millionaire Next Door. Uh-huh. And that book showed me that there was another way to be successful, which was entrepreneurship, and that it would enable me to be free to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do, is my view of it anyway. And so
I would love to stop there. You just put a whole boulder on me because of all that work. So let's step back and say, who was the expectation of getting the MBA? Was it your parents? Was it your mentors? Was it the business that you were working for? Let's start with that and say, kind of unpack it a little bit. Who was putting that pressure on to get the MBA during that time?
Well, I think it was back in the days of investment banking being like the hot thing, so
yeah.
We lived on the Upper East Side and took all these car services all the time and that kind of thing. And it was that kind of lifestyle.
As an employee, you were taking the car services.
Yes. Yeah. They paid for all our food, and I'm a foodie, so I ate.
Must have been a great life. I've heard LinkedIn pays for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner there, so I'm sure it's similar to that.
Yeah, it is. But back then you kind of were locked up and doing deals and staying until 2 a.m. and that kind of thing. So that was the trade-off. But I decided it really wasn't for me. I wasn't really passionate about the numbers, and in my head, I made up this idea of if I could run a product and do the marketing for it and product development, et cetera. And then I went to a Harvard Business School admit weekend and ran into my cousin, who was actually a product manager on Nuprin, which is a pain reliever. And she said that was actually a career that I could have.
So is that before or after you went to Paris? That was before?
That's before. So
tell me about how you made the decision to leave the country and start working in Paris?
Well, I love the French language. When I was little, my parents used to speak French in front of me when they didn't want me to understand what they were saying, which is very funny. And so I think it imprinted the language on me. And so I got to the point where I would never get better in French unless I lived in the country. Okay. And so during my MBA, I went on exchange, and then I landed the job at P&G while I was on exchange during business school.
Oh, so you were over there already when you applied?
Yes, I applied my second year at work.
A lot of kids now are doing an international business major. Is that something that was around when you were in, like, was that an option as part of your program, or that wasn't an option yet?
Multinational management was one of the concentrations we could have at work.
Okay. Was that yours, or you just kind of stumbled on this Procter & Gamble job?
Well, I did marketing and multinational management as my,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you were always on the lookout. Wait, did you ever think about going to a different country, or you were kind of set on France?
Well, I wanted to go to France first just because I spoke French. I love the French culture. And then, I considered when we decided to move out of, my husband and I both decided we wanted to change positions at the same time. So we looked in London, Paris, and New York.
Okay.
So I would have considered London as well. I don't really speak Spanish except for resort Spanish and opera Italian. So,
So that was at the end of your time in Paris. What made you move back, or what was the kind of deciding factor?
Well, I decided that the Procter & Gamble culture really wasn't for me. And so my husband and I, who is also Louis, is an entrepreneur as well. He's in the transportation business with me.
Yep.
We decided that we wanted to look in London, Paris, and the U.S., being New York. And I had family in New York, my grandmother's and that kind of thing. And so he found a job. And I had like 5 different potential jobs that I was looking at to start in New York. So your background was stellar at that point. I'm sure you probably had more than 5 jobs. You're just job offers. You're probably just being modest right now. Thank you.
So you moved back was it a culture shock for you to do business in the US since your kind of experience was in Paris, or not?
Not that much. The difference in France, I guess, was, Procter & Gamble was in English, but then we would speak French to each other in the office, but then all the written things were in English. So the difference was really that I got to do even more in the terms of product development, because when working abroad, the products were already developed and we were just marketing what was already existing. But here, working in the States, we had a lot more control over the messaging and the marketing and the product and the features. So that was really exciting.
So I'm seeing right now that all of this experience has led you up to the coach you are now today. From the time you moved back to Paris, when was it that you realized that you wanted to go out and start coaching? Like, what was the transition period like from that time to, hey, I think I want to help other businesses achieve their goal? Was it around the time of the book, or was it because of the book?
Actually, I had the entrepreneurial fit in 2004. We purchased the assets of the trucking company. And so, we had that company right before the Great Recession, which is kind of a similar time, as we're experiencing right now. And so we started a brokerage on the side, and the brokerage was to handle the truckloads that we couldn't handle with the capacity. And so we decided at the time of the Great Recession, we kind of saw things coming and said, let's sell off all the assets of our trucking and just do brokerage. And so that was our first pivot. Then after that, we grew and scaled that company to a certain point. And then we realized that if we wanted to double or triple or grow to be 10 times the size, that we needed to completely change our business model. So we then changed to an agent-based model. So we were outsourcing both the trucking, the sales, and the dispatch, and then we were just running the back office.
Nice.
And then, we grew and scaled to a point, 20 times the size that we were, and I wasn't needed on a day-to-day basis. And I got to say, what do I want to be when I grow up?
So in that period of time, how did you feel? How did you know the recession was coming? Was it your instinct? Was it your spidey sense? Or was it the investment banking background you had? How did you know?
It was really that we were doing a lot of construction materials and building materials and steel. And so the housing market started to go away, and then a lot of that freight started to go away. And then we used to have 80 trailers or more stacked with steel on job sites, and we started emptying those trailers, and they weren't getting filled up again. So then they went to our yard, and then we were stacking them 2 or 3 on top, just idle. And we said, something's going to happen. Of course, we didn't know it was going to be as bad as it was.
Yeah.
But
so you were noticing that your revenue was slowly going down to the point where you needed to, you were made the decision to sell off the asset and pivot the profitable part of your business. Would you say that it was like one of those 80-20 rules where you decided to focus your attention on more of a profitable aspect of your business, or was it not that deep?
Yes, actually, Matt, that's a great question. We did analysis that was trucking is bad and brokering is good. And trucking is bad because you have all the assets, you have the insurance up front, you have the drivers, the salaries, everything is a upfront cost. And we realized after a certain point that we're only actually making money in day 18 of the month after paying all the fixed costs. Whereas on the brokerage side, we realized that you don't pay for the trucking aspect of it until you have a load. And so it's really an analysis. Definitely.
And there's some good margin on the brokerage side. So then when you transitioned to when did you create your technology platform from One Horn?
That was during the Great Recession. So Louis, my husband, who is an engineer, he has a master's in computer design from McGill. He decided to start to automate all the things that we were doing manually while the business was kind of slowed down during the Great Recession. And so bit by bit, we started automating all the things that we didn't want to do. And funny story, we had our kids actually stuffing envelopes, and then we automated them out of a job. So
I've done that a couple of times. I've had to let go of my mom twice. I've said this on the show before. It's funny because you go to your family for positions that you don't really know what they're going to do, and then you figure out a way to automate it. Sorry, Mom.
So they didn't like it that much anyway, so they were happy. But it was, a young lesson to learn.
So as you continued to pivot, were you always looking at what was a profitable part of the business? Is that how you made your pivot decisions up through, the time with One Horn?
Yeah, so the first time it was definitely, it was more profitable for us to not have all those upfront costs, as I mentioned. The second time we realized that I didn't love sales. Louis didn't love dispatch. We had some other people working for us, but it wasn't really our strength. And so I said, we went to an event, kind of like a NEO learning event, but it was from the Wharton Club, New Jersey. And we realized we had to completely change the business model, and that freight agent business model was out there.
Yeah.
And so basically on every load, we pay a portion of the margin to the agent, and we keep a portion of the margin.
Yeah. That's very cool. So you almost automated yourself out of a business, or you automated your kids out of a job first, but then eventually you said, hey, let's automate my role, and so I can actually do what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. The idea was, that I would get out first from the day to day, and then Louis would get out second.
Okay.
I got precedence. But so we have a manager that's really running the day to day. I do I love the whole culture side of the business, and I love, the HR side and the strategy side. So as a coach, we always teach about core values and core purpose and that kind of thing. And that's how you bring the right people into your company, onto the bus, as Jim Collins would say. Mm-hmm. And so I do the interview to make sure that they are is sharing our culture, and that we can trust them to represent us well out, in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And so I still do that. But other than that, I kind of got out pretty much as possible. And we have this manager running it.
So there are a lot of different coaching type of careers. And I've always thought, there's so many options out there. Which one is the best? How did you end up deciding kind of which one you wanted, or did you have to pick? Did you choose multiple? Tell me about your journey into kind of being a coach.
Well, that's a great question, because I actually ended up with this group coaching model because of EO.
Okay.
First of all, as becoming a leader in EO and being moderator of my forum, which is that, kind of mastermind group, but deeper, that you could learn about later when we talk about EO. Being moderator of my forum, being the forum chair and leading the moderators, I just realized I loved leading a group. And, it just really lit up when I was doing that. And so facilitating groups and that kind of thing. And then there was a person who was a strategic alliance partner of our EO group who was a scaling up coach. And he said, why don't you try the group coaching model instead of being on the phone hour, one person and another alone in your office? You get to be in the room for a full day or 2 full days on retreats and really help them with proven tools come up with the strategy. And we were familiar with all the scaling up material because we met Vern Harnish in between when he wrote The Rockefeller Habits and Scaling Up.
How did you meet him? Was it just at an event or did he give a talk?
We actually went to the leadership team version of Birthing of Giants, or EMP, the Executive Entrepreneurial Masters Program at MIT through EO. And that's where we met Vern. We met Brad Smart, who wrote Top Grading. We met Greg Crabtree, who wrote Simple Numbers, which is the cash portion. And so right before Scaling Up was written, we were with the thought leaders on all of that, running our other business, the One Horn Transportation business.
Sure.
So then when Mike Goldman said, "Oh, you can be a coach doing that," I said, "Wow."
Did you have a natural affinity to like learning the ins and outs from those guys, from those mentors? I mean, you had some great mentors, lined up right there.
Yeah, I did actually. I mean, all those thought leaders, I ran a CEO roundtable actually back in New Jersey, and I just naturally ended up following those thought leaders before the curated content came out in Scaling Up. And we did a retreat on Good to Great and you're a BHAG and that kind of thing. And so it just was something that came naturally to me. And then instead of reinventing the wheel, I looked at Scaling Up, I looked at EOS, I looked at a couple other methodologies and decided that the Scaling Up methodology was really the richest methodology and the most well-rounded.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you were kind of already in that training process. You were in that headspace already. You've implemented it. And so it seems like a natural step that you were just kind of going and to choose that one out of the rest. So that's cool.
Right.
Was it scary hosting your first coaching session? I mean, did you feel like, hey guys, how you doing? My name is Cheryl, I'm your coach. Or were you more like a pro? Were you just like walking in the room, be like, I'm the coach?
Well, the first coaching session with an actual client, just the leadership team, the training is like so rigorous. I had a mentor coach that terrorized me into memorizing everything so well that I just really felt great being in front of that group. I also did a workshop, a public workshop before I had an individual client, and I did that with another coach who was very, very experienced. And that's where I was a little more nervous because I was in a room with 30-something people from all these different companies with this really great person. And I was just like, okay. But he said, I did great. We got really great ratings because we always do the Net Promoter Score rating. And so it was good. But it was, a little nerve-wracking at the beginning. I will not say it wasn't.
So what was the day or the month or the year of your first coaching session?
The first one was in February. I don't know if it was 16 or 17, one of the two.
All right. So 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, yes.
Cool. All right.
But I had been coaching for years, just, for fun, like helping my friends, with their businesses and stuff. And so, when people were having issues, I had read these different books and had all these takeaways, either from EO events that I would incorporate into my business and share that experience, or running this roundtable for the Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey. And, that was a kind of a coaching experience as well. And so I think it was something that I was kind of already doing. Yeah. And then now I had the framework, the proven tools, and the community also, so that if there were any questions that I had, I could ask the coaching community.
That's, a really interesting point, because actually I feel the same way, when you're in a community, especially like entrepreneur organization, but in any group of business owners, there's always going to be kind of questions or advice that you could, that people are looking for, or personal experience you can share. And so I think all of us kind of in the entrepreneur community start that coaching kind of, you get the taste of it anyway, and you get to help people, because I think I haven't met many business owners that are super selfish with knowledge. There are those out there that don't want to share, especially competitors, but most of the people I meet are just, they're happy with their life that they've chosen. They've gotten some good balance out of their life, and they want other people to experience that same thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of why my freedom is my Simon Sinek why. So when I became an entrepreneur, I wanted the freedom from the corporate life. And then, now because I wanted to live the life of my dreams, I wanted to see my kids, I wanted to travel. We used to have 8 weeks of vacation at a certain point where we would go skiing and go to the Dominican Republic and, all these different places. And, we ran our business from North Carolina and the beach for 2 weeks once,
nice.
3 years in a row. So it was all about that kind of thing. And as a coach now, I want to help my leaders get to the point where they can live the life of their dreams, whatever it means to them. So maybe it's, the life that I was living, having a great time with my kids and traveling, or maybe it's, community service of some sort, or sitting on boards, or launching a new company because they got the original company running on its own. I mean, it really, really depends, but there are a lot of different things.
Yeah. Cash flow is one of those things, how many sources of cash flow you have, but really it's running it profitably and finding satisfaction in your life, I think, is the most important. You could have one cash flow and be happy in life and be fine. But if you're, a type A, I think I'm a type A. I think you're a type A, is what you said. But, we're both type A. We just want to keep on rolling on to the next, what's the next shiny squirrel?
Yeah. So when I made the decision to become a coach, I did do a whole soul searching thing. And I met with a lot of EO members who knew me well. And some of the really super successful ones that you look at and you're like, wow, they're amazing. And some of my really good friends. And Jim Collins has this concept called the hedgehog concept in Good to Great, where he talks about what you're passionate about. If you picture 3 circles of a Venn diagram, what you're most passionate about in the world, what drives your economic engine, and what can you be best at in the world at. And that really talks to, you don't have to be the best, but you have to have the core competency.
Yeah, you have to be good.
Excellent at it. And so I changed it to, what am I good at? What do I love to do? And what can I make money doing? And all roads ended up leading to coaching.
There you go. All right.
So I love helping people. I love business strategy and coaching.
So how do you like Tampa? You moved down here 3 years ago now? 2
years ago.
3 years ago. So how do you like it?
I love it. I think it's
what do you like about it?
Sorry, I feel like I'm on vacation all the time, even though I'm working, because it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I tell my parents, they want me to move back up to Milwaukee or Chicago. And I said, listen, I love the hour of time I get in my backyard. It's a paradise all the time.
Yeah, it's like living in paradise, just like you said. And particularly now, instead of being locked up in New York and the rain and the snow and everything, look out your back lanai or whatever, and there are palm trees, and you have a pool, and you can go.
How did your kids adjust to moving to Tampa?
My kids are actually grown. They wouldn't want to live in Florida. They both had graduated. We were empty nesters. And so my son is now working for Lockheed in the Washington area and got him settled in doing that. And my other son is in Vancouver learning filmmaking, and totally different from our type of background, but my youngest one did apply to engineering as a backup in case the filmmaking didn't work out.
As a backup.
Yes. And takes calc for fun.
Do they speak French?
Yes, they do. I wanted them to be able to speak French because my husband is French Canadian, as you know, the listeners don't know. And I didn't want the in-laws to feel like their grandchildren didn't speak their language. So I used to speak French to them when they were little. I would sing French songs. I would read books in French to them just to make sure. So the grandfather says that they're perfectly bilingual, which is a big compliment because he has a
wow. That's a huge compliment. Good. So you mentioned you were the forum chair up in New Jersey, right? On your board of directors for the EO chapter in New Jersey. You came down here. You're the forum chair now. How is forum looking for the Tampa chapter, and how do you think it's going so far?
Oh, it's going great, Matt. I really am enjoying seeing all the new members come in and then helping them, shepherding them into the right forum group so that they can get the most out of their EO experience. And what's interesting is that we've launched a launchpad. We've started a launchpad forum, which is a forum that the EO new members can join before they're placed in a permanent forum so that they can get that experience right away.
Yeah, that was something we struggled with over the past couple of years. And your suggestion, or I think it was you that led the charge anyway, in terms of the launchpad. And I think that made a really big difference for our chapter anyway.
Thanks. It did. And so I ended up joining a forum that was from the Launchpad forum. And then we've taken more people from the Launchpad. So it kind of gives them a launchpad into joining another forum and understanding it and right away getting that experience. And they, there were other people who joined other forums. So thanks. I'm really very happy about how that's going.
Cool. Well, before we end, let me just show the listeners your website. So if you wanted to learn more about Cheryl's coaching, let me just bring it up. Lexagen Business Growth Coach, and it should be coming now. So the website, Lexagen, LEXAGEN.net. Where is the best place that they can go if they wanted to contact you or learn more on your website?
The contact us, I'm sure, my email. They can call me on my phone. My cell phone number is there. And connect with me on LinkedIn as well, too.
All right. We got it right here. Cell phone number here. We'd like to hear from you. And then anything else you want to show on your website while we're here to the people who are watching it?
One of the things I like to have on my website is this area called Get Inspired. And it's about all the different books that I've read over the years, and I need to add a whole bunch more. But in order to kind of inspire my clients and to inspire people in general, I did this at One Horn, even my old company before. So bringing it over to the Lexagen website. And then there's another area that kind of talks about, the methodology that we use and the different packages, which is under services, I believe. But I'm all about learning. So
I actually, this is great. You should, here's a business tip. Have a link to all these books and you can make money from them.
I know, right?
Speaking of that, this is your book, Hot Tub Manifesto. It's on Amazon. Any other place that they should look for it, or do you just recommend Amazon right now?
We just recommend Amazon.
Very good. And then I think you have an event coming up soon.
Yes. And so on November 18th from 10 to 12, we're having a 2-hour webinar / workshop where we're going to be going through how to reimagine your company and your business. So, we're hitting third quarter and, we're in the middle of this pandemic and we want to come out the other side and we want to be doing really well. And so I'm introducing some of the scaling up principles of people, strategy, execution, and cash, but then really digging into, how can we adapt to the new environment, leveraging our strengths and our core competencies, and then what are we going to do physically? Like, what are our priorities for the upcoming quarter in order to start our 2021 off night?
Awesome. Very good. The best way, can they find it on Eventbrite, or should they just contact you for the link?
Eventbrite, and then I'm going to be posting it on my website as well. Okay.
Very good.
I just haven't done it yet.
Okay. Well, Cheryl, it's a pleasure to get a chance to talk with you. Any last words that you'd like to leave us with?
I'd like to tell you that I love being an entrepreneur. My path was a little bit different, but in the end, it's just such a wonderful way to have more control and freedom in your life. And so EO has helped me to achieve that freedom as well, and to learn and grow as an entrepreneur with all the learning events and the openness, and people are just so positive and upbeat. And so at a time when, the Great Recession, everybody was doom and gloom, but EO was just all positive, and that's when I joined. And the same thing's true now. Everybody's nice, optimistic, and really has a positive outlook for the future. And so if you want to be surrounded by energetic, fun, interesting people who are successful and want to share, EO is the place to go.
Absolutely. I second that. Hear, hear. I feel like a rally. That's like a rally cry.
I love it. No, but I really do. I mean, I genuinely feel that way. And I'm just grateful because I wouldn't be a business growth coach, in the scaling up and 3-HAG way methodologies if it weren't for EO. So I'm just thrilled. I love it.
Well, Cheryl, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to close out the show. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Matt. I had a great time with you. Take care.
All right. Well, you just heard it. Cheryl Biron, she is truly that, started in corporate America, transitioned to running her own business, now is teaching others to run their business. She is a role model for our EO Tampa Bay chapter. And I think she's been a role model for the whole US East, really. I mean, if you go to any of these regional conferences, people know her. And so that's a big deal. And she's in our chapter. So, I'm really honored that she was able to join the show today. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, we just redid our website for EO Tampa Bay. Let me just, I'm going to bring that up here since we're in the process of launching it. Let me just, there you go. And let me just bring that up again, because I think a lot of our followers have not seen it. We're just in the process of relaunching it today. And there it is, eotampabay.com. If you'd like to learn more about our chapter, feel free to fill out that form. And we have some other benefits and partners on our website. So EO Tampa Bay, if you'd like to learn more, just contact us. Very good. Well, that ends the show today. I hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you guys next week. Next week, we actually have 2 shows scheduled. So I'm really looking forward to another powerful week next week. Have and make it a great day.